Hey guys, welcome to another replay review. I wanted to go through another replay with my light aggro deck that I've been working on and kind of honing in a lot these last few weeks. It's kind of, I don't know, I get burnt out of GOAT format pretty quick when I just play Warrior and Chaos Turbo over and over and over again. I really like trying to make stuff work, try new ideas and stuff. I made a previous video about this deck and one of the previous iterations of it. This is kind of the newest iteration of it. I won't go super in depth into the deck, but I think it's really good, even though I literally just got crushed Swift 2-0 in War League with it in the final week of War League, but whatever. I think it's a good deck. I played it a bunch last Friday in both of the Friday tournaments, and went on pretty good runs in both of the tournaments with this deck, playing against good players. I wanted to show a replay of one of those matches, and I wanted to just talk a little bit about some of the changes that I've made to kind of how I've adjusted this deck to get it where it is. So like I've kind of talked about in a previous video, this deck just plays like hyper aggressively. It kind of reminds me of like Earth aggro, but I think it might be even better. That's just my opinion. When I originally started out this deck, I ran just one Freed and one Soul of Purity and Light and just one Return, but it was mostly like a Warrior deck. But the more I played, the more I really like the Soul of Purity and Light. Like, it's just, every time that I drew it, I was really happy. And it's just an extra summon. I mean, people think that when you're playing Warriors, they see you summon a Blade Knight, they know that, you know, outside of BLS, that's your only threat for damage that turn. But then you bring out Soul of Purity and you're able to get an even more damage and then combo it with Return. And this game can just like set up kill shots this deck, I mean, can just set up kill shots out of nowhere. So, yeah, that's kind of the idea. You can kind of see what we're working with here. And if you have any questions about this deck or you have any ideas, you know, send me messages. Other quick thing to mention, I added a Mirage Dragon into the side. This is something, I don't want to put it in the main deck. I just don't feel like it's that good of a standalone card. But like game 2 and 3, when they see you're playing an aggressive strategy, they're going to side in more battle traps. You can side into Mirage Dragon, and in the replay, I'm going to show it does some pretty good work in game 3. So anyway, let's go ahead and just get into the replay. Yeah, so I'm playing against one of my former teammates on Monolith, Mr. JJ Stokes. He's on Chaos Turbo, and then I'm playing this light aggro. And like when I'm making this deck and creating this, like my goal is to compete with the Chaos Turbos. I'm not trying to make a fun deck that can just, you know, just be a meme. And like I'm actually trying to make something that can compete with the best decks in the meta. And I know that's a giant undertaking, and I know that this deck probably falls short of that in the long run, but that's what I'm trying to do. Like, I want a deck that I can actually take to a tournament and catch people off guard with. People underrate the surprise factor that different kinds of decks have. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and get into the replay. So I decide to lead off setting Dust Tornado. No, I ended up setting the Heavy Storm. I'm not sure what that was about. We'd played, I feel like every replay I show on this channel, I set Heavy Storm turn 1, and I don't always do that. I just, I played him earlier in the day, so we have a little back and forth kind of meta with what we're setting turn 1. He set a heavy on me earlier in one of the matches and kind of owned me with it, so maybe I'm trying to get him back a little bit. I don't know. He brings down a Kaiku, fake think for just a second, just to maybe make it look like I have a real trap. We'll take it. Kaiku really hurts this deck. Like, obviously you have ways to crash it with Sasuke. You know, sometimes you can bring out a Blade Knight at 2000 and run it over, but it really just hurts what you're trying to do with the Return, with the Soul of Purity. So I want to get this Kaiku off the board as quick as possible. We run into a Dust Shoot, so he kind of knows what we're doing. He knows about this deck, I'm pretty sure. And he sends the Kaiku. So I really wish I didn't have 2 monsters, because I would like to Blade Knight and then run over this Kaiku and get a free +1, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Also, since I saw the Dust Shoot win, I don't want to just go 1 for 1 with the Heavy yet. I'm going to see if I can't get him, bait him into setting a little bit more. So I just want to get this off the board. Like, I'm always down to trade 1-for-1 with these Sasuke's, these early Blade Knights, because once I finally draw into the Soul of Purity and Lights and the returns later in the game, I'll be happy to have them engrave to put a bunch of damage on board. And also it'll help, this is going to help fuel Freed later, if that comes into play. He's playing Chaos Turbo, so Freed I think is pretty good against that matchup. You can basically get free pluses on Sorks and BLSs and catch people off guard with it, and it's searchable off of Rhoda. So pretty even game state here. He started off with a Dust Shoot, the Kaiku. I decided to not set anything else yet. I'm just going to wait on this heavy, and good thing I do, because he basically set Dust Shoot and Jar of Greed turn 1, which I don't know if that displays that he probably doesn't have any real defensive traps, or if he wanted to go ahead and set both of the chainables turn 1 to try to bait a heavy. I'm not sure. Then he brings out Breaker. Don't want to see that. But he does not pop initially. I'm waiting for the main phase 2 Breaker use, and he doesn't. So he obviously has some sort of read that this card I set turn 1 is a bluff. It's nothing. He maybe thinks it's like a dead nobleman, because so far he's only normal summoned, and that he'll, you know, pop it whenever he's ready to set something. I'm not sure what kind of read he has on what this could be. But we draw. I'm happy to not see another monster, and that way we can go Blade Knight and get that free plus, baby. And we'll just set everything here and save the heavy for another day. He sets 1 to end phase, Dust Tornado, or not to, is the question here. I don't know. In hindsight, I don't see why not. But at the same time, this Freed, I mean, it would be nice to get in with another monster and get in with some more damage, but I kind of want to hold this just for later to try to get some value out of his effect and not make him just a 1700 vanilla. So I end up not Dust Tornadoing, which I think that's okay as well. We have the Solemn to stop, you know, if he happens to have Torrential or Mirror Force, though we'd obviously rather just trade the Dust Tornado with one of those, but decide not to use it. So Warrior Lady is a nice pickup, because that allows us to continue our aggression, and this is just a really good spot to be in. If you play Warriors, you know how this works. This is a good spot. We have the Solemn to back up our pushes. He's not responding to any of our attacks. He didn't Torrential there. He didn't Mirror Force there. So it's a pretty good position. He draws, then Wing Blasts our Dust Tornado. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I guess you could do some shenanigans with chaining, but I'm not gonna get crazy. I have the Solemn to stop anything crazy that would be a big threat he puts on board. Then he goes heavy. He was okay, so I probably should have known right away as soon as he Wing Blast to try to hit one that he was looking for the heavy. That is the thing about Wing Blast. He doesn't know what he hit, so he doesn't know if he hit the heavy or if he hit the Solemn or not. And he didn't. We're a little vulnerable here, but he doesn't have Light and Dark Engrave, so not too concerned. Snatch Steal, it's a good card. I notice he doesn't set 1 behind, so that means he has 2 monsters in hand. Don't really have a good idea of what those could be. Probably not something you'd set, or he would have done it last turn. I'm not sure. I already forgot. There's an argument to potentially let this attack just to go through, and then next turn heavy. I don't know, but I decided to go ahead and just do the whole banish thing. I think that's good as well. So we're in a really good position here, and so this is basically just game. What would stop game right here? Solemn. Yeah, but even if he Solemn's heavy, return wins the game. So yeah. So we're gonna heavy and then chain Wing Blast. And that was all set up because he snatched the Blade Knight and I removed it off of the Warrior Lady. So it's kind of funny. It felt like he had a pretty weak hand there too, which helped. Game 2. Decent hand. He gets his Thunder Dragons, sets one into an open field. I've talked about this in previous videos that often when I see Chaos Turbo set one into with no back row or anything, turn one, I kind of view it as usually a bait. And it ends up not being a bait. It's a Koichi, so I kind of wish I would have noblemened that, but I didn't. And sometimes, like you take your wins, you take your losses on those. You're not always going to guess those right. If you decide to just take the gamble, obviously, sometimes it's best to just slam the nobleman, but sometimes you'll be winning that nobleman really bad later when the spy comes down or the faith comes down and you don't have it. He summons a Kaiku of his own, and then snatches. I think for a bit about whether to chain or whether to let this go through, because I don't want him to tribute it off for Thunder Dragon, but if I let this go through, he probably assumes that I don't have Dust Tornado, and he'd rather get in the full, 3,600 damage rather than 34 with Thunder Dragon. So he attacks, I'll Dust, and that way we can at least get his battle phase out of the way. And I'm perfectly happy to trade one for one with Kaikus. Draw another Nobleman, so we have a lot of answers for face down. I said Heavy Storm again. Part of that is I think it's okay to set here, because then we can, once we draw into something more aggressive, we can make pushes with Blade Knight or Sasuke or whatever we draw into later. And he's already used one of his normal summons, like Kaiku. I'm trying to think of what else he would just summon and attack with. Maybe DD Warrior Lady if he runs it. So I'm more expecting sets here. So he sets one. Draw into Soul of Purity. It's pretty much dead. Potted Greed. I fake the think again real quick. Gonna upstart. Set another one and then set a face down. I think this is a good opportunity to heavy. Maybe I could wait for more. I played a match against James Ark the other day, and he was in my position basically. I had two set against his one, and I'm thinking, man, this pro heavy would just be really good right here. And then he passed, and I was thinking, oh, it's not a heavy, and then I end up he set one, and then I set another one, and then he used one of his cards and ended up baiting me into basically a +2 with his heavy. It was pretty nuts. So maybe I could consider something like that and waiting a little bit longer, being more patient. But you know what? I see two cards. I got a Heavy Storm set. I'm gonna put my helmet on and just heavy here. And we just trade one for one with his Nobleman. I'm interested to see why he kept the Nobleman in game 2. I'm not sure about that. So summon Sasuke, Nobleman, I think that's reasonable. I want to get some value out of these. I'm not going to try to play too many mind games with it. We hit a Sinister, which that's alright to see. We have another Nobleman for any potential faiths. Yeah, see, so maybe saving heavy towards later might have been better, but not sure. So this one I'm thinking is probably the faith if he has it, because he saw that I already went through one of these. Maybe there's an argument to exiled and then attack. Obviously that wouldn't work out in this situation because it turns out it's a Sengen, but maybe there's an argument for doing that. Maybe not. Maybe just ripping the Nobleman is it. And I think this is all pretty straightforward for the most part. There's kind of risk setting the Solemn here, that it could run into like a M phase MST or just Tornado or a Geki Break or something, but We don't encounter it, and then I set the Exiled Force. I'm trying to think of my reasoning behind doing this. I probably don't have a good reason to be doing this. More that I think about it. I mean, I saw one of his noblemen's gone, so I knew that at least. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think maybe my reasoning is that I have gone through 2 noblemen's, and that next turn he'll probably, and they really weren't amazing. I hit a Sinister and I hit a Sengen. He still has Spies in the deck. He still has Faith in the deck. He still has Decos in the deck. And if he has another set, he's going to be able to just set it next turn and get it off for free. So my thinking was that I have a Solemn now, so I can go, if I draw into another monster, I can flip the Exiled, activate Effect, and then pop his monster, and then still have my normal summon, so I can push for even more damage with the Solemn to back up my plays. So I guess it sort of makes sense. I'm sure that was my thinking at the time, but when I saw myself do that right now, I was like, why would you do that? And then he had the second Nobleman for my Exiled, so kind of came back to bite me. Then he heavies. Do you Solemn here? It's going to cost me 4,500 to save my Mirror Force. What is... I think we're in a losing position regardless. But I end up letting it go through. And in hindsight, I wish that in hindsight, I'm glad that I did. Because he lost a Solemn out of it. This is the first time we've seen a Solemn. Actually, I saw a Solemn in our earlier match that we played, but he could be on a different deck because it was a different little tournament. So then he brings out Blade Knight. This is a trend that I'm seeing where turbo players are siding into like Blade Knights against aggressive matchups. I don't know. I don't think it's that good because like Warriors aggressive decks have a lot better ways of making their Blade Knight 2000 than Turbo does. He just had to ditch both of his Thunder Dragons just to get this up to enough to get over it, but he still gets that +1. So shoot, what am I? Who am I to say? I draw into Tribe, and there's obviously a couple options here. Something that I definitely need to be way better about is just keeping tabs on what back row is, what's been going on. Like I can't remember if this back row of his has been sitting there for like the last 5 turns or if he just set it. And when I'm like mid game and I realize that, I feel so bad because I just need to be paying more attention because the best players in Yu-Gi-Oh are so good at this deductive reasoning where they see these like the longer a back row like stays in your field, good players are going to be able to, by process of elimination, kind of figure out what it could potentially be. And sometimes I do that. Sometimes I do that well, and then sometimes it completely slips my mind. So no read on the back row at all. So I decide to go ahead and pass. I could Tribe and then kill the Blade Knight. But I'm assuming that this in hand is Chaos because it wasn't a monster because he ditched 2 Thunder Dragon. It's not a spell or trap because he ditched 2 Thunder Dragons to get the Blade Knight at 2000. So I know it's a monster. He's probably been holding it for a while. At some point, it has to be either a Chaos or some sort of flip. And I'm not willing to just trade my Soul of Purity for his Blade Knight when he's going to be able to summon Chaos next turn anyway. So I'm going to just pass it back. If I take half my life from both Chaos and the Blade Knight, then so be it. I want to wait for another card. Because next turn, if I really wanted to, I can go Tribe, ditch this for the Sorcerer, and then ditch another one for the Blade Knight, and then pray his back row isn't real. So yeah, so we'll just take this. Draw into another Soul of Purity and Light. We only have one light in grave. So I decide to summon the tribe. Yeah, so I could summon the tribe, and I could kill the sorcerer with one of these, and then kill the Blade Knight with another one of these. But I really want to get my banish pile set up for return play in case I draw it later. So I go ahead and ditch one, and then summon the next one with the goal of crashing into Blade Knight. And he has the Solemn for that. Whatever, shoot, I'll trade a Solemn with this little Soul of Purity. Let's do it. So, kind of in trouble here. And I was talking trash about this Blade Knight, and it's just absolutely doing work here. And then he brings out his Elvira. We're in trouble. And we draw a Ring. And Ring will do absolutely nothing for us unless he decides to summon a Chaos monster for some reason. But Mr. JJ Stokes is too smart for that. So, we lose that one. Yeah. So we're going game 3. As you see, we got the Mirage Dragon here. I decide to turn 1 set the Sasuke, and then I'm pretty sure I just set the Sakuretsu. No, I set all 3. Okay. Kind of playing into heavy here. We're just going to have to Solemn if he heavies, but I think this is okay as well. I think my thought process here is that if I summon Sasuke this turn, next turn, if I don't draw into a monster, I can have a juicy Blade Knight, and I can be just attacking in for a lot of damage with the potential to Solemn whatever defensive things he tries to put up. And then on turn 3, I can bring out Mirage Dragon, and he won't be able to use them in any of his battle traps. So it's kind of my thinking. So he sets 1 and sets 2 spell and traps. So what's a summon here? I think the Warrior Lady is probably what to bring out. Maybe the Mirage Dragon, depending on what I just don't have any good reads on his back row. He's been setting a lot of Jarg reads and letting him sit there for a couple turns before he uses them. So not 100% sure what the best thing is to summon here. I know not the Blade Knight. I'm gonna wait for my monsters to kind of get thinned out and then bring out the Blade Knight so I can have it at full strength. So it's either between Mirage Dragon or DD Warrior Lady. So with the thinking being that I can either summon Mirage Dragon, and then hope this is not like a Deco or even a Spy. You know, we have Sasuke, but I still hate dealing with Spy. And then with the potential to Solemn if he has a Torrential, or we can go Warrior Lady, ready to Solemn if he has a Battle Trap. But then we'll be able to invalidate the Battle Trap next turn with Mirage Dragon anyway, so maybe Mirage Dragon would be the best thing to summon here. And we do. Okay, nice. I couldn't remember what I did, so I think this is the better play. Go ahead and try to make his Battle Traps invalid as quick as possible. So in hindsight there, I'm thinking, man, I wish I would have went DD Warrior Lady because of Sangan, but that's okay. That's not the end of the world. We have the Warrior Lady for the Sinister if for whatever reason he decides to set it. So he adds a Zambira off of Rhoda. So he's sided into kind of a little warrior package to counter the aggression. I think it's pretty cool. But drawing a lot of monsters. We don't want to see Mystic Swordsman's doing nothing here, but potentially later in the game it could do some work. At this point, though, like I am not even convinced this is Chaos Turbo that we're playing against. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't seen any Night Assailants. I saw a Deco. I haven't seen any Spies. So this might be like more of a Chaos Warrior build now that I think about it. Another thing that need to be better about, like paying attention to what my opponent has been playing. I know that sounds like the most obvious thing in the world, but sometimes you'll like see somebody go Thunder Dragon and then you'll run into a Dekoichi and you'll just assume, all right, well that's Chaos Turbo, must play all the cards that a Chaos Turbo player does, and it's not necessarily the case. So this is some sort of hybrid maybe, or he sided into this and sided out of some of the flips, which that's one thing that a lot of good players will do against Warriors, is side out a lot of their flips and side into stuff like this. So maybe that's what he did. I don't know. Not going to overthink it. So we go into, I want to get this Symbira off the field as quick as possible. I have so many monsters. I just want to keep summoning and attacking turn after turn after turn, getting super aggressive. So we go to battle phase, but he says main phase 1, ring the Mirage Dragon. So obviously that tells us that the other set is a battle trap, probably a Mirror Force, unless he's bluffing it as something else, which could be a possibility as well. JJ is really good. So, and with that kind of knowledge in mind, I want to go ahead and I want to solemn this because I was thinking that he would solemn the ring. He would ring the Warrior Lady maybe if this wasn't a real trap, but this must be a real battle trap if he really wants to ring the Mirage Dragon. So I'll go ahead and solemn it. I think that's fairly reasonable. So then we go battle phase, banish. DD Warrior Lady is so good in this deck because it's just always going to banish itself most of the time, and then it always sets up the return. So then we're just getting in for a lot of damage. He's getting low. I have a Saku to stop whatever he's trying to do. Brings out a Blade Knight at only 16 and is trying to trade into this Mirage Dragon. So obviously he's desperate to get rid of this thing, because this is a battle trap. Then he main phase 2 brings out VLS, finally gets rid of the Mirage Dragon, and then duels me. But we have the snatch here, so whatever, you know. What I'm looking for is MST heavy. I mean, yeah, that's essentially what I'm digging for with this Greyce. So I think it's pretty obvious to just play it, try to find some sort of MST heavy. Even Rhoda would do it too. Well, we know he has a battle trap set, so yeah, we need something to get rid of this. Draw into Smashing Thunder Dragon. Obviously, we're not going to keep the Thunder Dragon. This game's not going to last many more turns, so if I draw into a second Thunder Dragon, whatever. It's between Smashing and Return. We know that he has Mirror Force, probably. So, I'm just trying to walk through the scenarios. Obviously, I end up keeping Return, but I'm trying to think of why I'd want to keep Smashing, because if I played Smashing here, I would... The Mirror Force would still happen. He would still go to Grave, so it doesn't make a difference anyway. I'm going to use this Snatch Steal, but I would still have a Snatch Steal. Yeah, maybe keeping the Smashing might have been better, because I Smash, then attack, dies to Mirror Force. We still have the Snatch Steal. Maybe he summons a Blade Knight next turn. We can snatch it and then end the game if he doesn't have another battle trap. But that's all given he doesn't set something. So I don't know. We go ahead and go for Return, though, because our graveyard's looking juicy, and we know that the Mirage Dragon is going to do work. So yeah, happy to do that into there. If for whatever reason, I'm trying to think of why he would be able to kill me here. Now ring's gone, so I'm not worried about getting killed. So sets one. We draw into a monster, and then we'll just go ahead and just attack. And if this isn't a spy, we win. So it isn't. And then we return. So kind of cool. Yeah, so that was that game. GG's, Mr. JJ Stokes. All my replays I post on this channel are usually of me just getting absolutely cooked. So it's nice to post a match where I win. But yeah, this is the deck. And I still think there's some changes that need to be made to get it to make it super optimal. I think maybe just maybe one additional way to get my return live might be nice, like maybe a one-off copy of Bazoo, but at the same time there's not a ton of room in this deck. And another thought is that sometimes these Thunder Dragons just feel so bad when you don't have any discard traps. So maybe replacing a Dust Tornado with like a Wing Blast or a Raigeki Break might be a potential option as well. I have one in the side for like control and for turbo, but yeah, maybe replacing one of these might be good. But I really like the Dust Tornadoes just for making sure that my aggressive pushes go through. So I don't know. There's some things to be made here. But here is my light aggro deck. Try it out if you want to try something. If you're getting bored of playing the same strategies over and over again. This is my attempt to try to bring something new into the meta. Whether or not it's a real thing, we'll leave that up to you. But I'm going to keep playing this, and honestly, I'll probably play this in some tournaments soon. So anyway, that is my replay review for the day, going a little more depth into this light aggro deck. And that is, I think, all I got. So thanks for watching, guys. See you later.